We'd love to answer some more questions if you got them. If you can think of anything. How about you?
Sort of taking my piano and guitar and starting out on the blues. Like, how do you transition to bluegrass? What's that transition like also? Like, what scales do you guys use in a solo?
Well, Billy Blue uses a lot of scales. A lot of really good ones. The thing that kind of, I heard in the fiddle workshop, Jesse talking about the 5-note pentatonic scale. So that scale's like kind of it's used everywhere. It's rather simple, but there's so many different things you can do with it. In fact, you can get a blues sound with it and then move it to another position and use that as a major sounding scale. And that's covered a lot of ground for me as a guitar player. You know, I spent most of my career mainly, I'd played some solos, but mainly holding down rhythm. And if you can, you know, wrap your head around the different shapes of the blues pentatonic scale, and you can learn, like play just like a 1 chord in G there. So like, that's just like a blues pentatonic, the box shape or whatever.
One thing I'll say, like when I was younger, I never used to play the breaks. You know, I would just play. Well, my dad would play all the fancy stuff, and when I was 11 years old, I got an electric guitar, and I sort of ventured out, and it wasn't Stevie, but it was Hendrix, and it was Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and stuff like that. So the first guitar solos I ever learned how to take were like, you know, blues stuff. And that it's so different than bluegrass in that in blues, you know, let's play a little like something like this E, like blues you can just kind of feel it. Bluegrass, you gotta play the melody, man. You know, how do you play a solo on Salt Creek? You play. And I never figured that out. And when I came back to my dad's house, and man, teach me how to play Beaumont Rag, teach me how to play Salt Creek. I could play blues solos on the electric guitar by this point, but I had no concept of playing the melody. And you know, let's play a little bit of that Salt Creek, and I'll kind of explain that. Like, I'll play it the first time, and I'll play it really straight, and then the second time I'll just goof off and play some stuff, and you'll see what I mean. I think if you play the melody, it's a lot stronger than anything you can do, especially with these kind of fiddle tunes and stuff. And you can improvise within the melody, but I think as long as you can still hum that melody, you know. If you're playing Skip to the Loo, My Darling, you could either play or you can play you know, it's like still the melody, but there's little embellishments there. I think that's what a lot of those fiddle tunes are about. Like, I'll play it straight.
You know, he just said he thought you might have liked it better when he didn't play the melody. And that's kind of something that kind of sucks a lot of guitar players in. I think guitar is, I feel like, an instrument that it's more likely to forget about the melody than any other bluegrass instrument.
Yeah. It's easy to just go.
It's a lot of fun to listen to that, but you know what Billy's saying is the melody is probably really the most difficult part. The second half of what he did was probably sounded more difficult to you guys, but it was probably harder for you to learn the original melody.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about just sticking close to home. You know, you hear people like, and I hate to compare anybody, I mean, it's all music, it's all boundaryless. There's no rules here. You can do whatever you want with music, but I think with these fiddle tunes, at least from my personal opinion, you know, you hear somebody like David Grisman who just plays the melody, you know, and he just plays it in a really cool way. Or Kenny Baker on the fiddle, or, you know, I think some of the strongest solos that I hear, or some of the best ones that I hear are when, wow, the guy just played the melody of the song, and what do you know, it's really great.
One thing tying into what I think he might have been asked to do, and it may not be, but you know, I also started out with rock and bluegrass, but I think one of the things that I think maybe where you're trying to go is the fact that you do a lot with rock, you play a lot of notes on the beat drum. I a lot hammer on the four, and yet with a light bass brings a lot of sustain, whereas in bluegrass, for the most part, it's picking every note you hear, and a lot more light hammer.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think it's just, you know, like we were comparing it with the blues and stuff, or jazz for that matter. You know, I feel like the objective in jazz is to play everything except for the melody. Or at least that's how I hear it. You know, it's like, wow, the melody's way over there, and that guy's playing over there.
And then you've got the chords to learn.
Yeah, which is really cool. You know, sometimes if I hear a certain jazz tune, and I don't know the tune, say if I can't hum it, you know, if I can't go or whatever, I might not even know what the hell they're going for, you know, because it just sounds like a bunch of noodling to me if I don't have something relative to put to that. Now, if it's a simpler tune like minor swing or, you know, some of those tunes, I know how the melodies go, so then all those guitar parts make sense. But man, sometimes I hear really fast, intricate, crazy jazz, and it just sounds like noodling to me. It sounds like, you know, but if I knew the tune, it wouldn't sound like that. Bluegrass, you know, the melody is the thing. You know, I like to use that Skip to the Lou, My Darling as an example because it's just so simple, you know.
You know, back to your question, you can take your scales that you've learned and you can manipulate them in a way to, you know, get through playing a tune. But like you said, you know, learning these melodies is a start, but I would actually throw all that out and learn how to play rhythm bluegrass guitar before you do anything solo-wise, you know. Especially if there's anybody out here like wanting to get a job playing guitar, you know. I feel like in modern times there's fewer and fewer good rhythm players. At least in my area at times, it's not as fun. I mean, for a young kid, it's like the boring part. But the older I get, the more I would just soon be doing that than anything else. And what I try to do when someone's taking a solo is help them build their solo with how I'm playing dynamically, like, or just rhythmically. You know, I listen to what they're doing at a time when they're starting to hit kind of the apex where they really might grab a hold of the crowd. I will build that volume with them or bring it down, or you know, just rhythm guitar is what bluegrass guitar was for decades, and that's the best place to start, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Listen to the way Dell plays rhythm. It's kind of like the more you listen to old school bluegrass too, you hear different patterns in the rhythm. You know, it's not always. Jimmy Martin would play in rhythm what Bill was playing on his mandolin. Like if it was bluegrass breakdown, you know, like. Jimmy Martin would play. You know, it wasn't always just because he would be following that and that's a really cool thing to think about too. Rhythmically, play the rhythm with the melody. You know, it's not always just boom chick, boom chick. It could be anything. I don't know. It's all music, man. You can't analyze this stuff. It's just
listen to it, you know. If you're trying to learn, I've tried to give guitar lessons a few times to make extra money, and I just had to start mowing lawns and stuff because I couldn't really, it was tough to get through to people. And the one thing I found that was tough is I feel like you have to put hours and hours in actually listening to what you want to sound like. You know, and we all have enough time in the car to get a lot of homework done musically. I mean, especially me in traveling in an Econoline van for many, many hours. But you'll find yourself, if you listen, I mean, it's untelling how many times I listen to Tony Rice plays and sings bluegrass. And by the time you get to the point where you're even at the level to even try to learn some of that stuff, it's so ingrained in your mind what it's supposed to sound like. So when it sucks, you're like, well, at least you know that that's not what it's supposed to sound like. It's a valuable tool. It's kind of, it seems like it's overlooked, especially when people just start, you know.
Back there? Oh, hey.
He's the bass player.
When did you both start playing and how much time did you put into it? Before you, obviously, full-time job, just trying to learn it.
I was just born into it, man. My dad is a really good guitar player, and when I was growing up, it was just what we did at our house. You know, he's a great musician, and I always looked up to him, and I really feel lucky, man. You know, being born in 1992, to have been introduced to, you know, by the time I was 7 years old, you know, I knew who Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs was. I knew who Doc and Merle was. I knew, you know, Ralph and Carter. I knew all those bands. Nobody in Twin Rivers Elementary School in 1996 knew that stuff, but I did. Hey, I even knew Man of Constant Sorrow before that movie came out. But I feel very lucky for that. So I was just born into it. I always looked up to my dad, and he kind of taught me as a kid. And it's always been my thing, you know. I played bluegrass, and then I stretched out, and I went over to play some heavy metal, and I've played rock and roll and all sorts of stuff, but I've never not played an instrument. I used to skateboard a little bit, but that never got in the way of the music or overpowered it or anything. I was really passionate about skateboarding as well, but guitar has always been my main thing. And again, yeah, I just feel really lucky for that. But then again, you know, I wasn't very good at school. I failed all through school, and I couldn't figure out how to do algebra and stuff, and I'm just daydreaming about my banjo, man. I'm saying, I'm here for 8 hours a day, you guys pointing your fingers at me, telling me I can't do shit, but I want to just go home and play my guitar, man. You know? I don't know. But I at least play an hour every day, at the least, you know, and when I practice, a lot of times, I mean, recently I've picked up, you know, actually picking up my guitar and putting on the metronome and actually practicing like that. But up until now, I pick up my guitar to play and to sing, and I might be thinking of a song in my head, and man, I just feel like singing that song right now. So I'll just do that at home, you know, and I just pick up the guitar to play songs for myself, you know, and that's how I practice. What about you, man? When did you start?
Man, from the time, both my parents are very, my dad is I guess I would call him an amateur mandolin player, but he knows good music. I mean, he used to quiz me when I was little in the car, you know, a song would come on back when they still played a decent amount of music on the radio. And,
decent music, you know?
Yeah, and he would be like, who is that? You know, I'd be like, you know, it's Zeppelin or whatever it was. And my mother was very into ZZ Top and Stevie Ray. She was actually pregnant with me when she saw Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I feel like that, I don't know, it's not a coincidence. It's weird. I think I heard it. So even before I actually got a guitar and got lessons, you know, there's pictures of me as an infant with my dad's guitar, like dragging it around the house, you know. I liked it, but I really didn't. I started in kind of the Suzuki version of a guitar, like classical guitar. I was like 12 or 13. And I learned a few of those things, and once they tried to start making me read music, I started really to buck the system, and he showed me the blues pentatonic scale, and it like ruined me for that program. And I played for a while, but then I kind of hit a point where, with the electric guitar, where I wasn't that into it, I wasn't getting any better, and that's when I kind of came across the bluegrass scene. I was 15 or 16 when I went to my first festival. Yeah, we can do that for you. And practicing's tough, you know, like we both played for a living, and that creates a lot of business and a lot of work that can take away your time. So you have to really find creative ways to progress, for me anyway.
I've just decided that I'm always practicing, even if I'm on stage. This is a rehearsal. I'm practicing right now,
Yeah.
sitting in front of you folks. And like
You're always thinking of a tune that you might want to do, a tune you might want to write. I mean, if you're writing songs, then you're paying attention to all these people's conversations, or you know, anything that might inspire you to come up with a line. You know, there's always something to be talked about or something to inspire you to play.
Yeah.
Three-point man.
Can we make a compromise on the Flat Scruggs and maybe a Hello Travis thing from Mountain Hammer? 9-Pound Hammer.